Hello and welcome everyone to the Health to Harmony Global Retreat. I'm your host, Sam Kovalyov, and I hope you've been enjoying the series so far. Get the knowledge you need for your own holistic self-care today by getting our VIP charity package, which will unlock full lifetime access to all of these recordings and bonuses. All proceeds of the VIP charity package go to 501c3 Haven for Humanity. Please see the link in your email for more information. Today we're here with Ellen Livingston, a yogi, wellness coach, and passionate total health creator. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you. Thanks, Sam, for having me.
Awesome. So yeah, and Ellen, today in our day and age, the term self-care is tossed around rather loosely, and everyone seems to have different meanings for it. So I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about what your lifestyle was like growing up and how you really came to understand what you understand now of what is healthy.
Yeah, okay. Big question. I grew up actually in a pretty healthy environment, and it was kind of an old-fashioned childhood in the old-fashioned kind of Leave It to Beaver neighborhood where we all ran around and played outside, and we were barefoot a lot, and moms were home, and we all walked to the same school together and came home for lunch, and so it was a really nice feeling of community, really, like the good old days. And I didn't think a whole lot about health until later because my body worked really well. I was athletic, I was outdoors, I was healthy. I just didn't have anything that didn't work. I never got sick hardly. And then when I was 18, I had a tragic skiing accident. I was on a big mountain in Aspen, probably where I shouldn't have been anyway. I took a big dive off a little bit of a cliff in a blizzard and twisted up my body. And it's never been the same again. And so it was a real shocking awakening to that I wasn't indestructible. I was kind of a fearless, go for it kind of kid. And this was a big wake up call because I completely shredded my left knee. I had it reconstructed, but I also apparently twisted some ribs, and I've just been kind of off kilter ever since. And so I had to really be humbled and learn how to repair myself. It was a year and a half of physical therapy and meeting people with much bigger problems. And it just really made me think. And long story short, at the same time, I was heading off to college and leaving home for the first time. And I started to have a sort of domino effect of health problems, from the spinal problems from the accident and the knee problems. And then I had TMJ, migraine headaches, horrible insomnia. And somehow this all understandably led to some severe depression. Which I think I'd seen inklings of earlier in my life somehow, trying to keep up with a high-pressured academic family. And I just, at age 12, I remember thinking that my idea of success had more to do with being happy and connected, not with producing anything. I got the straight A's because I could, and I knew I was supposed to, but it never really meant a lot to me. Another wake-up moment was when I went to the department store with my mother with my straight A's from junior high, and she was able to apply each A to get an additional discount off the sheets and towels.
Oh, wow.
And something went off in my head, like, wait a minute, like, wait, what does this all mean? What is this all for? And that's when I started realizing my idea of success might be a little bit different. So, back to my adult life, the digestive problems then set in, and that's when I really woke up to diet and nutrition. I got diagnosed with IBS. I had severe GERD, reflux disease. I was really, I was still functioning and looking okay on the outside, but inside a lot of things were falling apart. And I went to a doctor about the digestive issue, and he said to me, this couldn't possibly have anything to do with what you eat. And that was another light bulb moment, like, wait, that doesn't really make sense. And I lost faith in, his ability to help me in any way. They just wanted to put me on medications, and I didn't want to do that, Fortunately, some primal place in me knew better than to just throw medication at it. So I started reading everything I could get my hands on. And 20 years later, researching nutrition and every diet on the planet, I landed on a raw vegan diet. And then in the next course of a year and a half, it became a fruitarian kind of low fat, high fruit, raw vegan diet. And that's what ended up working for me. And I've been that way on that plan ever since. This is nearly 20 years later. So.
Wow. Absolutely
it's
amazing.
funny how we come into it, but, that's the very short version of it for you.
So if you don't mind me asking, how are you feeling now today?
So great. The digestive problems are mostly a thing of the past. I still have a sensitive gut, so I have to, and now eating as simply as I do, I can't get away with anything else really. So, it's the blessing and the curse,
Hmm.
right? I'm on a very simple plan, and as long as I, stick to that and watch my stress levels with the rest of life, I do great. It's a challenge every day too, and we can talk about this in terms of personal practices and things like that. But I do find it to be a really, um, super critical part of every day, virtually moment by moment, to stay in touch in the busyness of the world. But to
Hmm.
stay in touch with myself, and keep myself balanced and, keep my lifestyle connected. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I love the projects that you're doing because it's all about that. Yeah.
wonderful. Thank you. So if you could go back in time and talk to your younger self, if you could pass along just a few lessons that you've learned over the years, what do you think some of the things would be in terms of health and well-being?
Yeah. It's a great question. And I wish I could have done that then. It would have made life a lot easier.
Yeah, I think we all do.
Yeah. But I did raise 3 children. And so I was able to pass on some of that to them. And what I noticed doing with them, which is what I wished I could have done for me, was to really give permission to follow our inner knowing.
Hmm.
Because I had some inner knowings that were powerful when I was little, but I was kind of afraid to believe in them because they would have caused me to go against the grain in so many ways. And I didn't, as a kid, most of us don't really know we can do that. You got to do what's happening in your family and your school and your whatever. But I unschooled my kids, and I didn't even know what homeschooling was. It just happened organically because my first child really demanded attachment style parenting and long-term breastfeeding and co-sleeping, and that led to unschooling. And I just threw out everything about like curriculum or any kind of sort of mandates from above, so to speak. And she thanked me in a letter she wrote in the wilderness when she was about 19, out on Isle Royal in Michigan. And she said to me, "Thank you for trusting that, you could just let me unfold and I would be okay in society, that whatever wanted to unfold from me would be okay, and that I would be a functional being." Not only that, she has a really strong sense of self. They all do. So my son is out, he can make a lot of money as a computer science guy, but he actually decided to take off and build a van out, and he's out west traveling for at least a year in his van, just reflecting on society and life and what he really wants to do with his. And so, yeah, the biggest message was to trust my sense of my own unfolding, my own knowings, and not to try so hard to conform myself and squeeze myself into all these little, squishy, uncomfortable boxes that didn't work for me.
Hmm.
Because I think that led to a lot of struggle, internal struggle for me, and really led to my spiritual awakening, that pain. So I don't regret it so much as, it could have been easier, but I grew a lot from that pain. So not all
Got
bad.
it.
Yeah.
Got it. So in terms of community and how you incorporate community into your self-care practice, how do you view community?
Essential, basically. I grew up with, there were four kids in the family. So we were one of the bigger families on the block. And so we had what we called night games every night in the summer. And all the other kids came over to our tiny patch of yard. And we romped around at night. And, I then raised my kids partially for their first 5-6 years in a co-housing community.
Hmm.
So their dad and I, chose to join this intentional community and helped build it. And now in Ann Arbor, Michigan, there's 2 more next door. So there's actually 120 households in 3 contiguous co-housing communities that we were part of starting all that. So there was lots of other homeschooling families there, and the kids ran in and out of each other's houses barefoot and naked half the time. And it was really, quite lovely. we didn't get in our car for days at a time because we didn't need to. So since then, I moved on to some acreage in Michigan and put up a 30-foot yurt. And I became like the center for these kirtan events, these full moon kirtan, which is a sacred call and response chant for anyone who hasn't heard of that. It's a form of devotional yoga, but it's really beautiful. We were blessed to have all these musicians in Ann Arbor who would come over and plug in, and then we get about 50 people gathered in this yurt and sing and dance and have a bonfire afterwards. And then I had several people, up to 13 at one time, living on my land, kind of semi-legally, but we worked it out with tiny houses, and it was a large old rambling house, so I broke it up into parts and rented out parts of it. And that was a way to also survive financially while I did the things I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. Was to share resources, and to share the place I was able to get. So I'm doing that again now in a new form, which I can share about at the end maybe, which is a new project.
Sure. Yeah, sounds wonderful. I mean, community is such an important aspect of self-care, in my opinion, as well. In terms of environment, nature, bringing nature into your life, is there anything specific that you like to do, or ways that you bring nature into your life?
Yes. Nature's really big for me. I think, nature is my religion. It's my temple. It's my go-to place to center myself always, which is why I like living in a warm climate if I can, mm-hmm. which I am right now. But, and I guess I tapped into that as a kid because my mom took us on a lot of wilderness expeditions. So I learned to canoe and hike and backpack and swim and sail and bicycle touring. And I did a lot of adventures outside. And so I guess that was already with me. But I think it's natural for kids to want to run around barefoot, to want to pull their clothes off in the sunshine, or as my daughter liked to do, to roll in the mud, whatever. She, for one of her birthdays around age 12, she asked the whole family to walk barefoot through the mud as a birthday present. It was cold out, so the mud was very cold, but it made her so happy to see us all doing that.
That's wonderful.
Funny stories, but now I kind of am a sun worshiper. I love, there's nothing more grounding than to sit on a warm rock and feel the sun on your body with the wind, and to be in touch with all of that. And it's, whenever I've had difficult times, I've always wanted to go lie on the ground or lean on a tree and just give it all to the earth, right? I remember in Costa Rica once, I led retreats there for 10 years, and there was a difficult moment that I won't get into, but it was a difficult community moment, and I was the facilitator. So it was a lot on me to resolve this. And so we had a meeting, and it was difficult, and we got through it. And I realized afterwards that I was kind of shaking from holding all that collective energy of everybody's, tension. And so we were headed to a little waterfall, and I broke away from the group and found this gigantic rock, like in that movie Avatar, like just massive, massive rock. And I just climbed up to the top of it, lay on top of it, arms out wide, just lay there on my back for 20 minutes. And I was completely better. All the energy it's just held. That's how I feel. It's like all that scattered energy just gets kind of transformed, transmuted, washed away, washed into the bigness of nature. And I feel my place again, that I'm not responsible for all this, that it's bigger than me, that there's something, it's hard to put it into words. I'm sure you know this, but it's undeniable. So when I work with clients, I'm always suggesting that they get out barefoot if it's remotely possible, and just walk barefoot and lie on the earth. I often go out to do my stretches in the morning without a yoga mat. And I just go out and lie, it's pine needles where I live. So I just lie on the pine needles. I come inside with pine needles and pine cones all over me and have to get brushed off. But It's soft, it's forgiving. It's, if you can forget about the ants or bugs or whatever and just get brave and make contact with it, it's very healing, and probably my most important practice, without a doubt, is just that nature connection in whatever ways I can do it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, I teach barefoot walking also, and help people get used to walking barefoot on different surfaces. It's really, touches something inside of me to see people for the first time, sometimes for the first time in their lives, walking barefoot on real natural surfaces. So I totally understand what you mean by that.
And
And
it's
now,
sad. It touches sometimes you see tears.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I found a great quote from Thich Nhat Hanh that says, "With every step arrive." It's in a little book called How to Walk. And so I use that when I teach barefooting, right? Because it's just, you slow down. In fact, you're less likely to step on something harsh or step on a bee or anything because you're paying attention.
Hmm. Exactly. So, Ellen, now after your long journey in the health world, how much would you say your own self-care is a priority to you now, and uh, how does it contribute to your ability to really contribute positively to the world?
It's a really important question for everybody, and maybe for leaders in particular. But I used to think that I would somehow magically fix everything in my health and then I wouldn't have to do the self-care anymore,
Mm,
right? That I'd be fixed and good to go.
yep.
But the reality that I've discovered is that, as my daughter would say, life is life. It's ever changing. There's a lot of energies out there. I happen to be a highly sensitive person, in that 15 or 20% of the population that has a highly tuned nervous system that, takes in a lot of sensations like a sponge. And I can get overwhelmed easily if I'm not careful, because I hear everything, see everything, smell everything. And I'm sure that my simple fruitarian style diet has enhanced and exacerbated that at the same time, right? Because I think we were designed to be like, jungle forest dwellers, where there wasn't so much raucous noise and commotion and stuff going on in the way that we experience now. And so my self-care practice has to include multiple grounding periods throughout every day, even if it's a minute. Right?
Mm,
I have to pay attention to that. And it's a way of short circuiting the buildup of tension that comes from being on the computer, from talking to people a lot, um, from hearing cars or driving in cars, or all these unnatural things that we do that no matter how long we've been doing them, they're still not natural to the human organism, right? And so I'm sometimes envious of the people who don't seem to be much affected by it. But I also know that it's a gift I have to be tuned in like that, and that I have to take care. I have to take extra care to make sure that I connect with nature, even if I'm in the city. Um, and also, just from a physical body standpoint, I love to and need to stretch out every day. Move in some sort of not some organic ways. And one of the self-care things that I learned was to kind of throw out eventually the videos and instructions about everything and start to tune into how my body actually wanted to move. There was a seminal moment one day when I was doing yoga in my living room many years ago to a video, and I got upset with the instructor because she was moving too fast or something, and I kept pausing it, and finally I was just like, "Arr!" And I just turned it off and realized in that moment that, my body knew what to do. And kind of like that childhood message to the younger child, to just listen to it and let it guide me. It's like, oh, this feels good. Oh, that feels good. And later on, I got into ecstatic dance, which we also did in my yurt, but which is a form of dance where everybody's encouraged to just move to their own rhythm, quietly, inwardly, kind of, connected, tuned in way. And so I can do that in the house.
mhm.
As a way of self-care and connecting and moving. And then my other piece of self-care, of course, I have taken diet very seriously. I had to, right? Because I was suffering
Mhm.
in my digestive tract. And so I had to learn. And once I learned, it's like it's such a beautiful experience to eat simply and consciously, right? And that's something I do with my clients a lot. Just have them have the experience of eating just one thing for a meal. I prefer fruit for mine, so pick a kind of fruit and eat just that, and eat it outdoors if possible, or sitting quietly somewhere while not doing 10 other things at the same time. And that's a form of self-care, because your digestion will be better. You'll be able to really experience the food giving, to you, rather than just being a thing you shove in while you're driving.
Mhm.
Um, and it just makes you slow down and be conscious of, you know, just being present throughout the day. So I think of it as a kind of mindfulness, uh, that the more I can carry that through the day, the better I feel, the taller I stand, the more open-hearted I feel, because I'm not disconnecting, right? And so I noticed early on in my yoga practice that I started to stand taller, open my heart, walk barefoot on the earth. And there's sort of a sovereignty in that feeling of being able to take care of ourselves and allowing ourselves to slow down and be present and connected brings about, I think, that, I don't know, that realization that we have the wisdom within, and that we don't really have to go grabbing for it. Um, it's there. We just have to learn how to listen for it, tune into it.
Right. And like you said, excuse me, it's like you said, it's, you can really throw out a lot of the tools and videos and really just learn to really listen to your own body and connect with what your inner self is telling you. So yeah, I really love that. Uh, really sounds.
Eventually, the tools are helpful, right? For a time, and I still use tools, and I still have certain mentors in my life and people I admire and learn from, to a point.
Mhm.
And then you have to realize when it's the point where you've learned what you can there, and now apply it. Now take it in, what works, what doesn't, how would you would express that in your life, so you don't become a workshop junkie, right?
Right. Yeah, definitely. So do you think that our daily behaviors and our habits have a big impact on our community and the world as a whole?
Yeah, well, for example, I mean, let's just think of the difference of that image I painted of somebody who's, standing tall, open-hearted, calm, grounded, in their own sovereignty, and ready to connect from that space, where then that person is more able to give,
Mhm.
right? And more able to receive, because they're more open and spacious. I think that, if we don't do the self-care practices, we can end up really, I don't know, contracted and stressed and feeling needy and frustrated and impatient. And that's not a great place to, and I think we're all natural leaders at some level. It's not a great place to lead from,
Mhm.
right? And it's not very magnetic to others either. So it took me a while to learn this, because when I first got on my raw diet, I was sure that I had found the truth and the way and the light for everybody on the planet. And I just wanted them all to do it and have this information. And I scared a few people away, probably more than a few, including my family. But I gradually, learned the grace and the wisdom of, I call it like model, invite, enroll. So just do what I've found, live it well, right? Be my best version of me. And then I will naturally, if you're like me, you want friends along the way. So I naturally invite others, by just offering or making myself available in public, right? Or, being in community where people see me. So I'm not hiding. It might be easier to go hide in the woods and do my raw diet and not have to share with anybody, but it's a lot more rewarding to share. So I invite, and then that's how you enroll people, not by going after them and trying to coerce and convince them and change their minds, but simply by being a beacon a magnet of something that other people want, which is that open, spacious, wholehearted, heartfelt kind of lifestyle, right? People want that. And so they see it. And one of my favorite examples is Peace Pilgrim. Have you heard of her?
I don't think so, no.
She, at some point in her life, gave up everything, like all of her possessions, like everything, and all her money and everything. She was like in her late 50s or something. And it took her 20 years to get to that point of knowing she was going to do that. And she decided to walk 25,000 miles for peace. And she wanted to spread her message of peace, but she wanted to do it in a humble way. And so she had like a shirt printed, or a tunic that said in big letters, Peace Pilgrim.
Mm-hmm.
That's all, maybe on both sides of her. And she just walked along highways and roadways, and people stopped and asked her, what is that? And then she would share her message. And she eventually got invited to speak at universities all over the planet. So without trying, I mean, without advertising in any other way than to just, walk her talk, essentially, and be seen.
Yeah, I do remember that now, actually. Yeah. So you went through a bunch of different activities and practices that you like to do at home. If you could suggest one thing above all others for someone to give a shot, at home for their first time diving into really a holistic perspective of self-care, what is something that you think is most important for them to try?
It's hard for me to stick to one thing, but I do like simplicity. So, and it kind of depends on the person. I work with a lot of people, and I try to get a read on how that person operates before I know what might be the one most powerful thing. But like you said before, often just barefooting every day in nature is one of the most powerful things, because like by yourself in a place where you're not going to talk to other people, go to a park or your yard or whatever, take your shoes off, walk slowly with every step arrive, barefoot, and just take in the sights, the sounds, the senses, the whatever. And what that does is it um, fast tracks you into a place of presence. And if you do that often enough, you begin to really enjoy that experience, and you look for that experience of presence. And from that place, you can hear your inner wisdom of what you need to do to correct your lifestyle, right? So if you're really present, then it's going to make sense to you to eat whole, natural foods. It's going to just feel like the right thing to do. And it's going to actually feel in conflict to eat junky packaged foods, right? It's just not going to go with the barefooting in nature. So, oftentimes that does lead to the next step and the next step and the next step. And it's just a place of listening. Another thing similarly, which you could combine with that or do on its own if you can't go barefooting for whatever reason, because it's 10 feet of snow outside or something, is breath. To just sit quietly or lie down. There's nobody who can't do this, and just really do nothing but focus on watching your breath. And it's another way to come into presence. And there's no other agenda. You don't have to come up with any great ideas or solve your life in that moment. You're just opening up space. And the more you open up space, the more you begin to like that, because it's relaxing to be in spaciousness. And out of that spaciousness comes the inner wisdom that's been crowded out by all of the activities and noises of modern life. And so then you begin to hear it, and you realize that you actually do know what you want to do or what you need to do next, what your next step is. And that's all you really have to know, is your next thing, which might be, I need to do this more often, a lot more often, until I can hear the next step. Rather than necessarily that I need, another course or another trip or another house or another whatever, or another partner. It's like, I just need more of this spacious place so that I can let my wisdom sort things out for me. That's the most dangerous thing that happens, really, is that we lose touch with that.
Yeah.
And it really can guide our way home. It'll guide us to what foods we need to eat, what work we want to do, what kind of people we want to connect deeply with, where our life feels good, where I look for things to feel good and taste good. I don't eat things that don't taste good, and I'm trying not to do things that don't feel good. It's easier said than done, because, we still fall into traps of thinking we have to do something or should do something. But I've been on a quest to sort that out and to really, get it down. And I've had to try on lots of things that, some worked, some didn't. I try to coach my clients in some way to build the confidence and the inner guidance to just get out there and do stuff, try things, try something that feels like it'll be right for you and see what happens, rather than just thinking about it and talking about it. Go build the yurt that you really wanted to build, or live in the country for a while, one way or another, if that's what feels like what you need. You don't have to know whether it's all going to work out 10 years later. Once somebody asked me I was trying to get a business loan, and they wanted me to write a 10-year business plan. And I looked at this big stack of paper, and I took a stab at it diligently, and then I just threw it in the fire. I was like, there's no 10-year, it's going to unfold as I go. And I don't know where it's going. I know my true north. I know the direction I'm heading. I don't know how it's going to turn out, and I don't have to, is what I realized. I don't have to know the end result. I can't. And the more we try to know it, for our health or for anything. So I've also been working on letting go of attachment to being perfectly healthy, because I've had other accidents along the way. And ever since that skiing accident, I've never had the perfectly hanging, working, functioning body. It's always had difficult things going on. And to let go of the idea that the end goal is to make it perfect. And instead, the present goal is just to stay with it. To watch the show as it unfolds, and to stay in it, and not try to be somewhere else. Because I think that's where most of our suffering comes from, allowing ourselves to engage with these thoughts that, I'm not doing what I should be doing, or things shouldn't be turning out like this, or, maybe they're just exactly the way they need to be for you to be able to see where you need to go. So my life has not been easy or smooth. It's been adventurous and fascinating, challenging at times, really joyful and beautiful as well. Because when we reach higher, and we're going to get bigger challenges. It's part of the deal.
It's beautiful.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's the circle that we're enjoying in life. So yes, thank you so much, Ellen, for being with us. Thank you for talking with us. Is there any upcoming work coming out that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. There's always something.
Yeah.
So my latest version of me sharing in the world is that I've moved to Southwest Florida. I left the big yurt behind on the beautiful land. That was a hard thing to do. Synchronistically, in a beautiful turn of events, my best friend offered to buy it all from me. So I still get to live there in a tiny house whenever I need to in the summers. But it freed me up to buy some property in Florida. With my partner, we have 2 little houses here and an acre of land. And it's kind of a wooded acre in a really sweet community that welcomed us with open arms. I'd been sort of hanging out around here for 5 or 6 years, getting to know people. And it's on the Gulf Coast of Florida, Southwest Florida. It's called Englewood, just south of Sarasota. And I'm planning a little miniature retreat center here. So in the house, I'm going to have a wing of the house that has a couple of beautiful bedrooms and their own beautiful bathroom. And we'll share the raw vegan kitchen and the yoga space and the land and the area. And so it will be a way for people to come down and kind of learn the lifestyle really hands-on. The Costa Rica retreats are great, and I may still do those as well, but there's chefs who kind of put the beautiful food in front of you, and there's activities planned all day. And this will be more like, just come and live with me for a little bit. And, we'll make some food together. You'll have hours to yourself during the day. We'll come together for community in the evenings. We'll shoot the breeze and talk about life, and so that you go home feeling refreshed, renewed, and recentered, and like you could carry on a lot of this at home. So after all my years of running retreats, that's what I want to be able to do for people, is work with fewer people at a time, a little bit deeper, and helping them to really be able to take it with them in a really practical way as they go home. And you get a break from the north. It's beautiful down here in the winter. So right now, today, it's sunny and 73, I think. So.
Well, that's amazing. That
We've got
sounds like
So
Yeah, it sounds like something I would definitely want to partake in someday. Can you give us a time frame when is that looking
yeah,
like it's gonna?
I'm down here now. I intend to open. I have to do some renovations and kind of get things ready. I intend to open it up in some capacity by next fall and winter. So coming in, the end of end of this year. I'll be
Got
ready.
it.
Yeah, so stay tuned. I'll start putting out some word about it. It's a much smaller undertaking than what you're bravely doing. But it's my way of being able to, stay centered myself and still offer what I know. I have a lot of wisdom after all these years of living the raw lifestyle. So for people who want that, and even for people who aren't sure about that, it's a detox opportunity. It's good for everybody to come live raw vegan for a week or 2 or 3, right?
Totally. So if our audience is looking for more information about a healthy raw food diet, or if you're looking for personal mentoring, I understand you have some freebies available for us.
Yeah, that is the other thing I do throughout the year is one-on-one mentoring. And so I can offer to, about 10 people who come forward first, if they should want to have an hour phone call with me, complimentary, just to explore what's going on in your life. What are your current challenges and goals? And we can talk about the way that I work with people and see if mentoring is something that could really be helpful to you. And it's not just for people who want to be raw vegan, although that does come into my mentoring for sure. I also, I think, offered my ebook through this program, which is the ultimate raw food diet and detox and wellness program. And it's really a go-to handbook. It's short and easy to get through, but I kind of try to pack everything that you really need to know to understand this lifestyle and to get started on it. So there's a couple of things to get people whetting their appetite for this more natural, connected kind of lifestyle. It's available to everybody, really. Just gotta want it badly enough, right? Because
Exactly.
you will have to trade some things for it. I don't joke about that. It's a path for the spiritual warrior for sure. But it's full of just amazing rewards for those who
Wonderful.
journey. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ellen. I really appreciated talking to you. It's been so much fun. Remember, everybody, with every step, arrive.
There we go. Thank you, Sam. Good
Thank
luck with
you.
your projects. Bye-bye.
Bye.